Hello, this is a review of How to Survive Your Murder. But before that, let's update on some of the books I'm currently reading. The Five Stages of Courting Delisai Ramos, The Cousins, and Life for Sale. Also just got home from Barnes & Noble and bought Welcome to the Neighborhood and Hate List. So back to the review of How to Survive Your Murder. So this follows the main character Alice on Halloween night as she witnesses her own sister get stabbed to death. And as the main character, she's someone who loves horror movies. She loves all the slasher films from. She loves all the classic slasher films. Her friends all love it too, and they are very excited to always be talking about it, and they even want to start up a podcast. But one Halloween night, she witnesses her own sister getting stabbed to death. And then 1 year later, her friends have done the podcast without her, while she still hasn't moved on from witnessing her sister's murder. As she is about to testify in court, she runs into someone who looks like Sidney Prescott, the main character from the movie Scream, and Alice, the main character of the book, finds herself 1 year back on the night her sister is murdered. So that is the premise of the book. And you would think that gives a lot of insight into the title, How to Survive Your Murder. But for me personally, I don't think it really elaborated as much. This particular print that I have has some insight and also a bonus chapter that the author wrote. And it was cool to learn about the author. The author's favorite movie is Scream, which probably why a character looks like Sidney Prescott. But the main character is not. It's not really giving Sidney Prescott vibes. But there are a lot of twists that I would not expect, because after all, this is a commentary within a book about an entire movie genre. So, of course, if you think there's classic things going on, there's a lot of twists that make you realize that this is not the same like as it would have been if it were a movie. I do have a history of liking this film genre and watching a lot of it back when I was younger and being really into these scary movies, but I don't know, maybe I just didn't watch as much Halloween as I should have because I really was not sure what other references there were to Halloween other than the setting is on Halloween night. On the other hand, what this did give me vibes of was Nightmare on Elm Street in that sense of how it's kind of set up a bit where it's dreamy and all that. Like if you're in a dream and you die for real kind of Nightmare on Elm Street kind of vibe. But there are zero direct references to Freddy Krueger or Nightmare on Elm Street. One character I did not expect to be referenced is Boo Radley from To Kill a Mockingbird, which is based off of another book, while a majority of the other references are, movies and scary movies. Then again, this author answered the question of their favorite scary movie, which is Scream. Very ironic because the main character does not give off that fight back against the killer kind of vibe. And in this sense, the main character is back in the past, like in Happy Death Day kind of thing, but not exactly even fighting back because, it's not an endless Groundhog Day loop setting, but rather, this is your one shot to try to figure things out. And again, it's not giving Sidney Prescott vibes and fighting back against the killer. But the most ironic in this is the reference to I Know What You Did Last Summer, because of the way that it's twisted. The main character, in fact, did not know what happened last Halloween, apparently. Which does take the story in an interesting way where they can reveal a lot of plot twists. So it doesn't end up being your typical cliche slasher genre movie type thing. But I do think the fact that this is a book about a movie genre makes it hard for me to visualize and understand the kind of story or commentary that the author was writing. But overall, it did keep me reading, and it's plot twists that I would not have expected to have happened. And it made me realize that even though I am judging the main character, I'm still unable to uncover the real twist before the main character did. But overall, it was still a good read. It wasn't as meta as Cabin in the Woods, for example, but for a book, it did do well compared to that. And I would say it's in the same level as Cabin in the Woods in being very meta and self aware. Now, I don't know if I would read another book by this author because I feel like this is the peak, and I feel like I've read the best already with what I read in this book. But it's still something I would recommend other people to try and read, and maybe you guys understand more of the references than I do. But I do kind of feel crazy that Boo Radley was a reference I understood more than the other movie references. So yeah, my final score out of 5 would be a 4 out of 5. It was good, but I do think it could have been better. And I do think that maybe it was because I didn't understand it enough. But it's still something I enjoyed reading. So thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, or if you read this book as well, please leave your own thoughts on it in the comments or give me other recommendations similar to this book. And I will see you in the next review.